All right, back with you, Dave Elswick on The Answer. We're in our new studio this morning. That's why you can't see us, because they don't have the cameras in yet. The cameras will go in hopefully by tomorrow, and hopefully by Wednesday you'll be able to stream us on air. But you still can get all the information that you want to get about all the news that you've heard about here on the show. Starting today, we're over on Rodney Parham now. I'll let everybody know if you're coming from the expressway, it's on the right hand side on Rodney Parham, right when you go past Party City. You take an immediate right into the parking lot, and it's that building right in front of you that says 11300. But you got to come in. You come to the second floor to 210 to find the station. So I was sending the information out last night to Paul. He made it here, so my directions must have been all right. And then the Bible guys all made it here on time. Everybody got here early except for Steve. He's always cutting it really close, and he walked in at about 5 minutes still. But mics are all working correctly. The board's working correctly.
Nice.
Do you want to be known as Tom or Thomas? Talk to me on the air. People think I'm talking to myself. I can't hear you. You're not on the air. Okay, don't worry about it. All right. Anyway. He's sitting right across from me. We don't have to look as far to see each other, and they're going to do a few things still to the studio. They're going to have, we'll have what's called talkback, but it will only work between me and the producer. Right now at the other studio, when they wanted to give me a direction, like Dave, you need to go to a break. Everybody that was on the air with me had their headphones on, heard that, and if somebody, usually if a guest was talking, they would stop right in the middle of what they were saying because you got this voice coming from nowhere telling you to do things. It's not as bad in radio as it is in TV, because that little earpiece that they wear in television, they can hear all of the commands, like camera one, about do this, camera two, about do that, and you're hearing all of that. Plus, you got to keep your focus on the teleprompter a lot of times, and that can be a little bit difficult. And you never ask the talent on radio or on television from the producer spot a question, because they're liable to say, I got you.
Answer on the air,
something like that. And people, you're sitting listening on the radio. Go, why did you just say that?
You got one side of that conversation.
Yeah, that's all you got. So anyway, they got to come in and get that done. But basically, all the major work has been done and finished here. Okay, I'm expecting. I'll see you on the radio on Wednesday. That's why I say I'll see you on the radio. If people say, why does he say? Because we stream it as well. So there's Lynn, who's the head of sales here, just made her way in, and then she's looking around. And Steve, look, Lynn and Steve have done a lot of the work that we're looking at here right now. Not the carpentry work or anything. I would not give a circular saw to Lynn. I wouldn't do that. But the bottom line is she and Steve have done just an incredible yeoman's task of getting everything ready here. And all I had to do today, had to wait for somebody to show up to unlock the door so we could get in. I'll have a key tomorrow, I'm told. I'll be given to me today as I leave. And I'll be the person that opens up the station every day. That's kind of cool. I like that. And better listen to me when I say I'm going on vacation. So you give a key to somebody who's coming into the studio. All right, so Paul is here. And it's good to have him with us here on the Dave Elswick Show. And let me take us and let's talk about what happened over the weekend, some of the things that went down, and we got to talk about them. First, these protesters against these anti-ICE protesters have no respect when it comes for the church.
I heard about that. There was a church invasion, right?
Yeah, Minnesota. Yeah, Minneapolis.
That's kind of pushing the limits there, buddies.
Yeah, here, leaving mothers
seems like
terrified, kids screaming. At what point do Minnesotans at large reach a collective sense of, quote, this protest has gone too far, unquote? Scott McClellan of Town Hall, who, I got to be clear with you, Salem Media, that owns this station, owns Town Hall. They own Hot Air and a lot of other media entities. Quote, this morning, and he was talking about yesterday, a group of anti-ICE protesters stormed what would be City's church in Minneapolis because they believed that a church employee worked for ICE, according to video posted to social media. That's what Town Hall reported. The church was a Southern Baptist Convention church. Andrew Walker, a leader within the SBC, said this, quote, I have it on good authority that protesters were screaming in the face of youth at the church and following and shouting at young moms as they were trying to buckle children into their vehicles, basically to flee. Mm-hmm. This is utterly despicable. There is no constitutional right to protest a private religious assembly. What Governor Walz and Mayor Fry have unleashed in their regimes of disorder and lawlessness is shameful. God bless City's church. And then last but not least, this reported by Negro, who is a reporter on the Internet. When do protesters lose their right to protest? Protesting is an expression of freedom of speech, which every government should protect. And it's not that way. I mean, you don't have freedom of speech in England. You don't have freedom of speech in Canada. You don't have freedom of speech in most other countries.
And the issue, though, is that churches are generally private property. And so being disruptive, especially on private property, is a pretty serious issue because you don't have the right to say anything on someone else's property, really. I mean, you don't even have the right to be there unless they invite you in. And most churches will invite you in, but they don't invite you to be disruptive. So that's a different issue from standing on the sidewalk and saying your piece on the sidewalk, which is free speech. But throwing rocks at cars and blocking traffic is not part of free speech.
Yeah, I'll put some of the stuff that Andy Engro has posted, video of these churches. It's amazing.
Has it been more than one church, or is it just the one so far? Multiple?
More than one, yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's the video of it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you can't hold a church service when that kind of stuff is going on. So keep that in mind. So Andy says, when protests turn violent, protesters have no right to claim infringement of their rights. If storming a church is Exhibit A of protesters sacrificing their right to protest, the beating of a critic of Islam can serve as Exhibit B. Anti-Islam activist Jake Lang is surrounded by a far-left mob who pull him down from a ledge and beat him severely. It's crazy.
Well,
let's be honest. First of all, a lot of you don't even believe in freedom of speech.
A lot of people don't. You're right. A lot of people actually do think the government should stop you from saying unkind things. Which the reality is, free speech is the right to tell your offensive opinions. That's essentially what it comes down to. Free speech doesn't include the right to defame or lie about people and harm them in those ways. But it does include the right to say offensive things, and that's essentially what it is. You don't need free speech to talk about sports, although people do get mad about that too, which is silly. But the thing is that free speech is for your opinions and for truth, especially for truth. Unfortunately, people will attack government bodies are even cracking down on truth in some cases, which is a serious problem, because especially when you have whistleblowers that might be arrested for telling the truth about criminal activity going on by the government.
Yeah, the big thing that has come on here recently is the use of the whistle and blowing.
Actual whistles.
Yeah, blowing those whistles. Code Pink started that back in the 70s, and it was when they were pushing so hard for as far as the LGBTQ. They weren't called that then.
It was probably just homosexuality.
Homosexuality, and they would show up at legislative sessions, and when they were debating and stuff, they would blow whistles. And if you're sitting by those people and they're blowing a whistle like that, it is very, very loud.
Well, and the other thing is
it's an intimidating thing that they're doing as well.
And it carries.
Yeah. And you're not – that's not that – you don't have freedom of speech to walk into the legislative session of Arkansas and start screaming and drowning them out. That's taking away people's freedom of speech.
Right, and that's one of the things, at least, is classically exempted from the idea of freedom of speech, is you don't have the right to be disruptive. You have the right to speak.
Everybody does.
Right, but you don't have the right to be disruptive. So, talking at a normal tone, maybe even being a little bit loud, is part of free speech out on the sidewalk or something of that nature. But a bullhorn might cross the line, potentially. And being extra loud, with a whistle, could potentially cross that line. Doing things that would damage someone else's hearing, that's a problem. I think there is some justification for limiting some of the noisier activities during sleeping times, because people still have a right to sleep and not have to have their houses just massively soundproofed because people are out there blowing whistles and being crazy. So there's free speech isn't unlimited in the sense that you can do anything you want. You can do anything that doesn't violate the rights of someone else. Yeah,
we'll come back and talk further about this. We got to get a break in. But what went down at this church is illegal, and we'll talk about why it's illegal. Here's the other thing you got to know. You got the freedom of speech to say what you want, like on your Facebook or whatever, but it doesn't mean that you're going to be free of the consequences. Saying whatever you say doesn't elicit somebody to do something as well.
Well, I mean, if you threaten to commit a serious crime against someone, then you can be held accountable.
Yeah. All right. Let's take a break. We'll be back with more. It's the Dave Elswick Show here on 101.1 FM, The Answer. And let me tell you about East End Towing. If you get stuck on the side of the highway, nothing worse if it's going to be 110 degrees, or it's going to be like they're talking about. I think next weekend it's going to be like -1 here in the area and snow. Those are both, extreme weather conditions, and you don't want to be stuck on the side of the highway when that occurs. You get stuck in your driveway because you go out, you try to start your car, you push the button. Most of us have button cars now. Nothing happens. Then you want to call East End Towing. They'll come out and tow you to wherever you want the car to go, to be worked on and to be fixed. That's what they do with broken down automobiles. If you're in a wreck and your car is incapacitated, can't be driven, you call the tow company. I don't wait for the state police or city police or whoever is on site there to do that. I want East End Towing because I know, one, they understand their equipment. Two, they have all the equipment they need to take care of the situation that you're in. And number three, they will take your automobile exactly to where you want it to go. So East End Towing does a great job of all three of those things. All you have to do is call them, 501-888-8849. Put that in your phone. Just put it under towing. 501-888-8849. Get East End Towing. Talk to the gentleman or lady on the phone. Give them the specifics, where you're at, what's happened, yada, yada, and they'll get somebody dispatched to take care of you. That's East End Towing. Paul, the United States government now is getting involved with an investigation into the folks that stormed this church. The civil rights people are coming in and investigating the potential violations of the Federal FACE Act by these people desecrating a house of worship and interfering with Christian worshipers. Now, what is the FACE Act? Well, it came around in 1994. It was created to prohibit, one, intentionally injuring, intimidating, or interfering with, or attempting to injure, intimidate, or interfere any person by force, threat of force, or physical obstruction because that person is or has been, or in order to intimidate such person or any other person or any class of persons from obtaining or providing reproductive health services. And number two, intentionally injuring, intimidating, or interfering with, or attempting to injure, intimidate, or interfere any person by force, threat of force, or physical obstruction, exercising or seeking to exercise the First Amendment right of religious freedom at a place of religion. And number three, intentionally damaging or destroying the property of a facility or attempting to do so because such facility provides reproductive health services, or intentionally damaging or destroying the property of a place of religious worship. Now, that's what Congress got started in the late 90s. And to say that that has not been upheld is an understatement.
So it seems like
except that abortion places, they tend to
protect those.
Bend over backwards to protect.
Yeah, so
those folks.
that's something that's not a constitutional
right. No, it's also foolish to call abortion clinics reproductive health centers. It's not about reproduction. It's about killing kids. But the thing is that it sounds like at least part of this is statutorily protecting First Amendment rights, which is appropriate for the U.S. for the federal government because that is a U.S. constitutional right. So it's not outside the jurisdiction of the U.S. government to address this issue. However, normally it should be the state that would handle it. But if they're not, I don't necessarily have a problem with the federal government stepping in and saying, "Hey, you can't." We can actually prosecute people federally for violating people's rights on a local level. Just like if some band of thugs was systematically attacking people simply because they possessed firearms, which is a constitutional right as well. I think it could be appropriate for the government to step in and deal with that. Ideally, I think the federal government should step in and arrest city and state agents who are violating people's Second Amendment rights and First Amendment rights, and deal with it from that perspective. So it sounds like that this may very well be a code section in the federal code that could apply to these protesters.
Well, that's why they're going to use this to go in and see if these people were, infringing. Were they intimidating? Were they, all these three different things they're saying: intimidate, attempting to injure, or interfere with any persons by force, threat of force, or physical obstruction. Their rights as citizens. I think this is something that has to be taken care of because, look, back in the 60s and early 70s, you didn't see anti-war protesters breaking into churches during worship time.
I've never heard of this sort of thing before. So the thing is that it's one thing to stand on the public sidewalk in front of the church property and maybe protest what they're doing. And it could be a legitimate protest. You may even be right to do so. Maybe it's a church that promotes abortion and homosexuality. That seems like a good, reasonable thing to protest. Or you may have a church that actually promotes righteousness, and so wicked people might want to protest those people. But protesting from the standpoint of exercising free speech on the public sidewalk is free speech. It's First Amendment stuff.
Yeah, but if you're using amplified equipment
to be disruptive,
so that you can drown out whatever, let's say the preacher is preaching about or whatever, that is against the law.
And you could have 200 people outside with whistles, and that could achieve the same goal. And if the purpose is to disrupt, that becomes a different issue than just engaging in free speech.
If you're taking away somebody's ability to say what they feel by trying to overpower and keeping people from hearing that person, you are breaking the First Amendment of the Constitution.
And they're on private property with these local churches as well.
All right. We have 10 seconds. News is coming up next. We'll let them get you in touch with what's happening around the world. All right, back with you. Now, something else that's happening with these protests is they're infringing and trying to stop federal actions that are legal. And what type of protest is protected and what is not? Well, U.S. Attorney in California Bill Elswick responded to coordinated efforts to tip off people to federal law enforcement operations. Nick Aram at Red State reported Democratic Congressman Jimmy Gomez of the 34th District, California, was reporting ICE activity and encouraging other people to report their activity to the phone number he posted. That's trying to help people avoid federal law enforcement. First Assistant U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California, Bill Elswick, had a great reply that everyone should take to heart. Here's what he said. A friendly reminder that the public has a First Amendment right to call the number below and provide inaccurate information. It is unlawful to impede federal agents, but there is no prohibition on impeding radical organizations working to harbor criminal, illegal immigrants. Dial away. If everyone calls in and gives all kinds of inaccurate information, it will basically incapacitate that line and foil the agitators. It was clear that many on X intended to do just that. So Gomez's effort is going to fail badly, and that phone number is going to be very, very busy.
So a couple thoughts. We've heard about there's been some prosecutions and lawsuits, I think, regarding this. I'm going to take it to a little bit different direction and then bring it back together here. But there's been some lawsuits, I think, and some prosecutions regarding, like, when you're driving down the road, you see a police officer running radar, and so the next person you see, you flash your lights at them to let them know there's a cop up ahead. So people get arrested for that sometimes, and they'll say, well, this is obstructing governmental operations or something of that nature. So this is kind of like that. And then the other thing that they're so that would be like, so reporting where the ICE agents are and trying to help people stay away from them, that would be sort of like flashing your lights to let people know there's a cop ahead. That's kind of similar there. Then the other thing that they're talking about here, if I understood it correctly, was having I guess the federal government has a hotline to let them know where illegals are. And so apparently somebody on the left is encouraging others to report false claims. It's like, hey, there's a group of illegals over here and then a group of illegals over there, and the idea being to send them on a whole bunch of wild goose chases. with the idea of just shutting down the hotline, making it worthless. That's obstruction. I think that would qualify as a form of obstruction.
Yeah, so is pulling your car across the road so that
right,
no
blocking
cars
traffic.
can get by.
Right, blocking traffic is another thing, and we've seen that. I think even here in Little Rock, it happened on I-630. I think was.
Yes.
I think it happened. We were about back during COVID, I guess.
They came pouring out onto the road from Martin Luther King Drive. That's
Okay.
what happened.
That's there by the U.S. State Capitol there. So those are some different things. And there was I don't know if I remember, maybe about a year ago, there was a judge. I think it was a local judge that had been informed that there were some ICE agents waiting to take, I think, one of the suspects that she had in custody there. Or maybe the person was being charged, and so she had him there. And she got word that the ICE agents were looking to arrest him as soon as she turned him loose from her court. And so apparently she took the guy out the back door to evade the ICE agents, and she got arrested for it.
Well,
Yeah, she's facing federal charges. I
one
think.
person who did that and ended up going to court because they obstructed the federal workings they're no longer a judge.
Yeah, no, so I think that's the case. I think she's facing federal criminal charges over that obstruction there. So there's another kind of interesting aspect to some of this, where we've got what is called the Anti-Commandeering Act, where federal officials can do their jobs, but they cannot compel state or local authorities to help them. However, that doesn't mean that those state and local authorities can get in the way. And I think this goes back to the Civil War era, where the federal government is allowed to enforce their laws, even if the state officials don't agree with them. The state officials don't have to help at all. They don't have to expend a dime's worth of resources to help them, but they can't get in the way. They can't obstruct. They can't stop them from stop the federal agents from doing their jobs, but they don't have to help. And so maybe you had an example maybe back during Prohibition, when people didn't like it that the feds were making it illegal to own or sell alcohol. And so maybe the local officials didn't like it, but they couldn't interfere. There's a constitutional amendment that was passed to outlaw alcohol, and so the local officials may not help them at all. They may not let them have jail space. They might not offer police services of any kind, but they couldn't get in the way. They couldn't obstruct these revenuers while they were pursuing the alcohol dealers. They couldn't have to help, but they couldn't obstruct, and that's kind of where a lot of this falls with some of this. Is that if the Minneapolis Police Department doesn't want to help the federal agents, they don't have to. They don't have to help, but they can't get in the way. They can't obstruct unless the federal agents are doing something illegal in some way, and then you have to make that case. If the federal agents are randomly violating people's Fourth Amendment rights, arrest them. That is a criminal offense. That's an illegal act. I would say it's a criminal offense. But if they're actually doing their jobs legally, then the local authorities don't have the authority to intervene.
Yeah, well, I don't believe that the local authorities should not have the authority to pass laws that are in direct opposition to laws that have been passed by the federal government.
Well, and that's the thing, is they don't have the authority to pass laws that would interfere. They just don't have to help.
Yeah,
and so and I think you do have an argument if the federal authorities are making laws that violate our constitutional rights. I think the state authorities do have the authority to intervene on our behalf, and they should. Just like when we've got federal agents that may decide, well, we're going to arrest people for owning shotguns. Well, I think the state authorities should protect us from those agents. I mean, and the Kamala Harris administration probably would have liked to do that. And I think that I want the state of Arkansas to protect me from those thugs if they were to decide to.
Well, I don't disagree with that, but the problem is the federal government has got to get away from shying away from going to court against local entities that are saying we're going to be a sanctuary state or a sanctuary city or whatnot. You can pass those laws, but when they're brought up against the federal statute, they break on the federal statute.
Right. So if you've got cities protecting criminals from federal prosecution, that's a problem.
Yeah, doesn't it amaze you that a lot of the things that are done by the protesters, they are getting behind and protecting rapists, pedophiles, all kinds of people that they're taking off the street.
Potential Democrat candidates.
And I mean that they would like to, basically, not take the lawbreakers off the air. That's why I say you can't vote Democrat anymore.
And I don't understand some of that. I mean, are they? So my understanding is right now ICE is really not focusing on just people who are here illegally. They're primarily focusing on like pretty hardcore criminals.
Yes.
And so, unless I'm mistaken, there, who's sympathetic toward these people? I mean,
the Marxists.
I mean, but even so, I mean, we're around Democrats at the Capitol. I mean, when they're not, Democrats are not generally defending child molesters. I mean, they want those people put away too. I mean, a lot of Republicans tend to want them dead, and then
I'm one of those.
The left tends to maybe want them in prison, but I'm not seeing very many people at all who want them running loose.
Well, I mean, that's exactly what a lot of these protest groups are saying,
which is strange to me. I guess I don't. Of course, there's a lot of strange things out there. I mean, we've got the Democrat left that are embracing the Muslims. I think I just heard something. It was in New York City. They were chanting about how they loved Hamas, bringing Hamas to New York City or something like that. What on earth are these people smoking? I mean, if my understanding about Hamas is correct, they don't like the left. They're not going to like the left.
They don't like anybody in the United States.
Well, but especially people on the left, as far as the agenda that the left has, I think Hamas is just not their friend. I mean, it's like snuggling up to a rattlesnake. Rattlesnake probably cozy compared to Hamas, but it just the idea that the left would like those people. When those people are inclined to kill your friends because they're homosexual, I mean,
well, yeah. If you're standing behind homosexual rights, if you go to these people's home countries, they would take them up to the top of a building and throw them off, or just shoot them on the street.
Right, and so that's my understanding. And so if that's the case, why on earth do they think that these hardcore Muslim groups are their friends? I mean, it's mind-boggling.
Well, they don't. I mean, it just shows you that most of them are paid to do what they do. Hey, you're invited to Bow Ties for Babies. That's going to happen Thursday, January 22nd, at the Benton Event Center, right off of I-30 North in Benton. And it's a fundraiser for Arkansas Right to Life. You'll be able to hear Scott Jennings, conservative commentator, who you hear right here on the Answer on Monday through Friday, noon till 2, and also a special guest in Sam Brownback, and he was the former Kansas governor, and he is a U.S. ambassador, and he's going to be here speaking to both of them, speaking about supporting life in Arkansas. It's $125 per person. That includes dinner. And if you want a table, you can order a table and have up to 10 couples with you for $1,250 for 10, or $125 per person. You want to register at artl.org/bowties, and you can get your tickets for the Bow Ties for Babies. This is the main fundraiser for Arkansas Right to Life during the year. And I've been many times, and I got to tell you, the speakers are always first rate, and they're always entertaining, and the dinner is always pretty good as, again, the event includes an opportunity for you or your guests to financially support Arkansas Right to Life as well. That's Bow Ties for Babies, January 22nd, and it gets underway at 6:30. That's when dinner is served, 6:30 until 8:30, and then our speakers will do some speaking during the dinner and right after. So Bow Ties for Babies on Thursday night. All right, so something to keep in mind is that the conditions that would merit the use of the Insurrection Act continue to exist. The protesters have become increasingly violent. Wall Street Journal saying about 1,500 active duty soldiers have been placed on alert for potential deployment to Minnesota in response to widespread protests over immigration enforcement in the state, according to 4 defense officials. The Pentagon has ordered the soldiers from the U.S. Army's 11th Airborne Division to prepare to deploy, meaning they are ready to quickly move to Minnesota if the order is given, 3 of the officers said. The move is precautionary in case the unit is needed, one of the defense officials said. The Pentagon, planning placing soldiers on standby, was clearly designated to intimidate the people of Minneapolis. And here's the thing. We're not going to be intimidated. That's what Mayor Fry said. Governor Tim Walz has also mobilized the Minnesota National Guard, a state agency, and he said in a social media post on Saturday, the post said the troops hadn't yet been deployed to city streets, but indicated the Guard would be used to help local law enforcement, including supporting peaceful protests. Stephen Miller from the White House is an unequivocal person about illegal immigration, said, so ICE over and over and over again goes out into the community to find and arrest these fugitives who have since committed additional egregious crimes after they were released by Fry and Walz and Ellison, Ellison's Attorney General. These are acts of insurrection against the laws of the U.S. and against the sovereignty of the United States government.
So I still don't. I mean, are they? So okay, let's assume these are rapists and murderers that have been arrested and convicted, and are they being just turned loose? Is Minneapolis that insane?
Basically, yeah.
I mean, because generally those people, after they're convicted, they're not turned loose, or are they just awaiting trial, or they just don't care?
Mm-hmm.
I guess I have a hard time figuring out what's going on here. I mean, do they just think that, this is their culture? They can rape people, man.
Well, it's because these people don't believe it's illegal to come into a country whenever you want to come into the country, right, and to set up, where you're going to live at.
But I don't think they're just specifically dealing with people who are here illegally. They're dealing with people who have also committed kind of serious crimes.
Well, yeah, the whole thing of getting people and sending them back to their homes of origin is for people who are criminals.
And so, but I just don't understand, because most Democrats still don't want people being murdered in the streets.
Are you sure?
Well, I mean, I don't think they do. I mean, at least
their actions belie those words.
Maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe they're okay with that. But at least from what I've seen, they don't generally want individuals out there murdering people in the street. I mean,
I would say
unless they're abortion clinics.
A greater group of people on the Democrat Party want those people
free,
not only freed, but not freed, but be put in incarcerated and keep them in jail. But there's enough on the Democrat side now.
They want them turned loose.
A sizable minority that want those people turned loose. I know it's stupid. If they've got daughters or whatever, or children, and they're letting pedophiles go, you're mentally deranged.
And so I guess I've got a hard time understanding what is their drive. I do understand if they're saying, okay, we've got people that are just out there working, they're laying bricks, they're doing landscaping, they're not getting a bunch of trouble. I kind of understand that. Okay, leave those people alone. I can see how the Democrats would maybe want those people to be left alone. But pedophiles and murderers?
Rapists?
I guess I'm having a hard time understanding where they're coming from on that one, just because there aren't very many people who like those folks.
Well, they're coming from the side of they don't want you to think about that those people are being released into your community again to rape, kill, and go after law-abiding citizens.
Yeah, so I guess it's just kind of mind-boggling to me if that's who they're rounding up, and that's who the Democrats are defending. That's just, I don't know. I guess it's hard to understand.
The Democrats are on the side of lawlessness. I'll be honest with you, and not only about illegal immigration, but about different countries doing what they're doing to their own citizens. I mean, this whole thing dealing with Iran, they've had 24 hours of hell in Iran recently. They've had over 16,000 now killed. And it's the worst daily massacre since the Holocaust. It's amazing what's going on. And we're going to tee that one up and take it on in the next hour here on the Dave Elswick Show. But it's too soon to say the mullahs and the murderous military units operating under them have quieted the counter-revolution, but there is no question that they killed mercilessly in an effort to do so. The new level of hell began on January 8th, about 8:30 in the evening, Tehran time, when the government shut down Internet access across the country. That according to the Wall Street Journal, and we'll get more information on that when we come back. Paul is here. I'm here. In the next hour or 2 hours, you're going to meet my new producer. They'll be joining me here on the Dave Elswick Show, and you might remember this person. They used to be on my show a lot, and now they're going to be part of my show and helping us, get our guests and things of that nature. So stay tuned. You're going to hear that voice again in just a moment on the Dave Elswick Show.